All right, I still get a lot of questions about this Beyond Power Voltra 1. I use it pretty much almost, I don't want to say daily, but almost every workout. I actually have to go out of my way to try not to use it as I'm trying to still experiment and test other things in this video, which by the way, that's why you guys see all these dumbbells in the background, trying to make that dumbbell comparison. You guys can stay tuned for that in a future video. But in this one, believe it or not, I actually want to talk about why for most people, I would probably recommend you do not buy this Beyond Power Voltra 1. And I don't mean for this to sound like a bait and switch, but by doing so and by explaining the rationale why not to, I may inadvertently sell some people on actually warranting and picking up this fairly inexpensive but very cool home gym product. So I'm going to jump into why you should not pick one of these up, but as always, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you do want to pick up one of these Beyond Power Voltra 1s, the affiliate link is down below in the description box. But I'm going to lay it up front, guys, so you can make the best informed decision possible. One of the things that is the big comparison and selling point behind this is that you kind of takes the place of, say, a weight stack all-in-one trainer. Now, right away, if you just start doing kind of the basic math, and some people might start thinking this way, I might think this way too, where maybe just go in on a fairly inexpensive 3x3 rack, which there's not too many of them out there. I actually did review this Vegas Amazon one, which is $450. Even if you got that with this just base model, $2,000, the slide mount and maybe the other strap-on mount, you're still looking at maybe $2,500 something dollars. So just for the Beyond Power stuff alone, then you add the rack, you're already in that territory. You might as well just go ahead and invest on a very good, high quality all-in-one trainer. And I don't give this thing enough love behind me, this Force USA X15. I do think this is a kind of a sleeper hit among other things, but there are many other popular brands out there, Rep Fitness or any other quality thing that's out there. You're pretty much in that territory when you start kind of thinking about just buying one of these, let alone two of these. That isn't not to say though, there isn't some value for some people in maybe going ahead and investing in just in a basic, sturdy, maybe more expensive 3x3 rack if you wanted to. I know there's a lot of people out there, myself included in the past, where I was moving, or maybe you're thinking about moving, maybe possibly you're renting, and I personally would never do this. I would never go and invest in a big all-in-one trainer with weight stacks, knowing that I might have to go ahead and move that someday. Maybe it's easy, I don't know, but I personally would not want to do that. So if that is you and you're in a kind of a temporary space, this kind of takes the place of that, because maybe you want to move and break down your power rack and then go ahead and just use this for all your basic cable attachments. And I said personally in the channel, this is again, totally personal preference. I barely ever use both sides. I might use both sides if I'm kind of supersetting between different exercises, but primarily I'm either using kind of a high point, a low point, and then a medium point. And if you had something like this, you could definitely do that. And while this does have many features, many of which I personally have not even taken advantage of, I'm kind of overdue in showing that to you guys. As much as I even love variable resistance, which just has that setting such as resistance band setting, I typically always just leave it in the weight training mode. And primarily what I use it for are a few staple exercises and just adjusting things on the fly. I will get to that later, why I do think though this, and not to just kind of sell this thing short, while not to just compare apples to apples here, this does give off some of the best exercise, tension, and feeling. But if you're comparing it just to racking it on a all-in-one trainer, I should just say a squat rack. Yes, I will admit this tension feels smoother, more direct, and I prefer this tension compared to my rack. But if you were just to compare that, an all-in-one trainer is likely going to last you a lifetime, maybe some little maintenance here and there. This has a battery you have to replace. We're still not sure on the longevity of this product, although I will say again, so far this thing has been stellar. I pointed out one issue I had, but that was totally my error, where I said this thing was shutting off in a past video, and it was just me clicking this button accidentally with my foot, turning off the tension. But as of right now, compared to all the other electronic devices, this thing has performed flawlessly, which actually personally gives me really high hopes for the future of that these things again will be taking over very soon. And also as a mini update, you may have saw it in some recent videos, but I thought I could not use this slide mount on my Force USA, but you actually can, so that's just another side point. This 3x3 slide mount does work really well. And then maybe the other unique thing, if you're attaching this, say, to a squat rack, is that vertical pull. I'll get to the foot plate here in a second, but the vertical pull is very unique, so you're not at this angle, say, if we're doing, again, you need the board for this, but for bicep curls, but if you're on a rack doing these vertical pull downs, it is actually one of my favorite back exercises, again, it's been taking place of other things in my gym, just out of ease, and again, because I like that tension, and I like that direct center pull and tension it's giving off. So summarizing all those reasons, I would probably take the best guess that most people are not going to take advantage of the evolving technology unless you're at a sports facility or you're really into tech and kind of fine tuning and messing with things. Again, with now they have this customizable strength curve, which again, I've not even tried yet. Most people I do not think are really going to use that. And so for the cost that you're going to pay for this versus say getting an all-in-one trainer, probably more function also out of that with other things you can add to it and just different points and its ease of use, just switching up exercises, not messing with kind of click on, click off setting with this. That would be definitely your best bet. This is now where I transition into where I think this thing is unique and has the biggest selling point, because I've said this in other videos, but I don't think it's really reiterated enough. And that is because I believe this thing is really sold as a rack attachment, is in the whole foot plate in their Nomad bundle. I think, to me, this is what, I've said this before many times, this is what saved this device for me. I would not be that interested in this, as I've just said everything I said so far previously. I just use my cable rack, whatever. But this foot plate, if you watch the channel, you know I have a kind of a mini obsession with resistance bands and foot plates for barbells, and that's for good reason, because on a few exercises, well, a good decent number of them, like bent over rows, squats, bicep curls, overhead presses, there's a lot there. This, with resistance bands and a foot plate, gives me some of the best tension and exercises, even deadlifts, and this actually takes it up a notch. I want to say almost superior. I'm still kind of going back and forth which one I like better. Resistance bands, of course, relatively low cost of entry, nothing mechanical, so that's a huge thing. But with this, when I attach this thing in the center, especially when I go vertical this way, that center pull that it gives off for bicep curls, the best out there as far as all the exercises I've been doing so far. Not to mention I can just dial it in and quickly adjust when I want to. Even rows, lateral raises, it can be a little limited, so it's up to you if you really think you're actually gonna maximize this. But if you're already someone who's into resistance bands and also you wanna fine tune and adjust tensions, which that's where I find I do this more on the fly, if anything. Not to mention you can even do isometric settings on this. So this is, yes, a very expensive kind of travel set that's looking, you know, above $2,500 something dollars. But when people come to my house, and just the other day I had people over and they were looking at the gym, just looking at stuff, a lot of cool things I think in here to look at, but the thing that I show off the most and people are most impressed with is this little thing. It used to be the Speediance Gym Monster, but that's just in my basement, and this thing I think is more impressive because it's so small and compact, and once they kind of give this thing kind of a go, they realize what I'm talking about, especially with that center pull that I keep talking a lot about with this Nomad bundle. So while I think this thing has a lot of things going for it, I think, again, for me personally, if I was gonna invest the money, which I still keep thinking about, that yes, it is very expensive, but as much as I love these foot plates and how I use these and how I travel and like to do outdoor workouts, this is something, although I did get this free for review, I forgot to actually mention that, and there's always a little bias in there for sure. This would be something that is in that kind of a luxury buy, but something I know I would value because it definitely has that cool factor of something unique that I'm not getting through other exercises. Much more stuff, I could actually go into more detail about that, but just to sum up, if you are buying this thing for a rack attachment, I do not think it's worth it. If you're buying it for something that is a novel piece, that's giving off some unique tension, some best-in-class exercises, and you like doing things like foot plate, resistance band, barbell stuff, that's where I think this thing is really shining. But at the end of the day, still new technology. You may or may not like that, I don't know, but definitely in that luxury buy territory. But one of the top products of 2025, if not the top product of 2025 that I've checked out thus far. So some pros, some cons. You guys let me know your thoughts about it down below in the description box. I will see you guys on the next one.